Hello! I know I seem a bit late to the party to do a reflection video of the past while, but I was on a holiday with my wife over the New Year's, so I didn't make anything. This is also not a 2024 video, but rather a past few years video because a lot has happened in my personal, professional, and gaming life since 2021. In late 2021, I was sort of fired, sort of not fired from my retail job at the time. I say fired because I was basically evicted from working in a particular store over stuff that I didn't do, and I'm pretty sure they sabotaged me because I know I didn't do this. I thought I was sacked until a previous manager asked me to do a shift for him on New Year's Eve, where I found out my profile was still in their system. I did the one shift but decided to go after a new job shortly after. Partway through February 2022, I got a new job in a joinery company as an apprentice working on a trade that is getting close to completion. I love working there and still do to this day. It's a wonderful team and I have great bosses. On top of this, I was studying at university from 2019 through to 2021 and dropped out because my results were atrocious. It was a bit of a shame because I love the field, but I can't study to save my life. I'm more of a hands-on worker, hence my ability to work in a joiner with my hands rather than staring at a computer screen. This new job probably put a hold on videos to a degree. I did get my Metroid Original vs Remake out, but that was going to be it for a while. In 2023, things went berserk, but for the best reason it could. I met a beautiful young woman whom I started dating. We were in a relationship as of March, engaged in September, and married the following July. I had a few social media posts that briefly spoke of this, and I mentioned it in a short video from earlier in 2024. Speaking of, 2024 has had some of the biggest changes in my life. Getting married was probably the biggest one, but there were still several others. I'm not sure I really want to go into details to protect the privacy of people around me, but there have been lots of changes and I see this as a new era in so many parts of my life. The 1st of January 2024 and the 31st of December 2024 presented two very different parts of my life. I don't know if any of you can relate since I've shared so little beyond getting married, but I'm now settling into a new life with my wife and I no longer live at home. Now, I've talked about my personal and professional life, but what about the video games? I found it hard to pick up newer releases lately, especially remakes. In 2021, I 100%ed Metroid Dread, and I think I would call it my favourite game on the Switch, or at least up until then. In 2022, I picked up Kirby and the Forgotten Land and enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to finish the final boss, but not 100% it. I like the idea of 100%ing it, but I don't know if I have the desire to commit to it. The next game of note would be Splatoon 3. Much like Splatoon 2, I've completed the single player campaign and have had a blast, but I never found much appeal in the online multiplayer. I guess the thrill of it lived and died in the first game. After all, I know I prefer an adventure or campaign over endless multiplayer with entire strangers. Disclaimer, I still like playing online with friends. My favourite game in 2023 was not Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it was also not The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but instead, Pikmin 4. It's the only game that year that I 100%ed, and I 100%ed it as I went on in my first playthrough. Upon my first time against the final boss, everything else was done. I had so much fun playing Pikmin 4, it felt like Pikmin had, for the most part, figured itself out. I think there's a lot more that could be said, which I can elaborate on another time. Super Mario Bros. Wonder was a great video game to play, but I'd be lying if I usually go for most 2D Mario games. I find that I tend to drift away from them in favour of their 3D counterparts. But one game that fell way out of my radar for quite some time and started making me feel things like fear was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I figured because of how much I loved and enjoyed Breath of the Wild, I would love Tears of the Kingdom, but this time, it's okay. It's weird. Playing Tears of the Kingdom feels slightly like filling in the checklist of Zelda games, which brings me to the fear element. Since I haven't found Tears of the Kingdom that gripping, I started to question my love of Zelda, and though to a lesser extent, my love of video games in general. Now you could say I was running low on time for video games given that I was engaged in 2023, but I made the proposal in September while Tears of the Kingdom came out in May. It could partly be due to me having a full-time job, something that wasn't the case back in 2017 with Breath of the Wild, but that didn't stop me from 100%ing Pikmin 4, and mind you, a lot of that playthrough was done during my lunch breaks at work. So Tears of the Kingdom now sits on my shelf with 1 out of 4 dungeons complete, but this isn't the end of the story. I might be busy planning my wedding, but it didn't stop me from taking time to pick up a controller here or there. 2024 didn't start me with much optimism. I tried the demo of Princess Peach Showtime, and it was by no means bad, but I didn't feel anything from there that made me want to keep playing. I didn't feel like the statement, "I want to see more." There might well have been more, but I just wasn't interested in sticking around for it. Up until this point, I haven't picked up either Super Mario RPG on the Switch or Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, in spite of my love of both of those games. To put it bluntly, I don't feel I have the time to play through them at this stage, although that was more of a wedding planning thing. Maybe I could get it now. I don't know, it's not really on the front of my radar at this stage. In the second half of the year, although the June Direct blew our minds, I wasn't going in with much optimism still. All I knew was I wanted to get Brothership. I was willing to let Echoes of Wisdom fall by the wayside, but then I started seeing videos of people playing it, and I couldn't bear the thought of it being spoiled for me. It wasn't a day one purchase, but I did eventually get Echoes of Wisdom, and oh my goodness, I love it! I do think I missed the old Zelda structure slightly. The last game like it was probably A Link Between Worlds. I haven't finished playing it, and that is entirely due to time, but I want to get back to it after I've finished something else. But before I even get too far ahead of myself in that regard, Nintendo dropped Banjo-Tooie on NSO. I wanted to make another video about this like I did when Kazooie came out, but I was never happy with it. I felt like I didn't have enough to say to justify a video, but I felt like it was too much to completely dismiss. My thoughts on Tooie on NSO in a nutshell is that it's probably the best way to play the game officially. The lag from the Nintendo 64 version is almost gone like it was on the Xbox Live Arcade, but the game also manages to keep the cutscenes generally in sync. It's not perfect, but tolerable enough to put up with. Due to the controls of Tooie though, I almost bought a Nintendo 64 Pro controller. Up-C was my biggest issue given how much first person there was. I would instinctively press X to go into first person multiple times. If I had the option to, I would remap Up-C to X. Now, the release of the year. Mario and Luigi Brothership. I still have not finished playing it, and again, time is a thing. I'm enjoying it, and I want to see more, but I don't want to say too much because yes, I am planning my next big video, which will be Mario and Luigi Brothership, officially announcing that I will continue the Mario and Luigi series talk from several years ago with a comprehensive analysis of Brothership like I did with the other 5 games. I will quickly note that I have Super Mario Party Jamboree, but I haven't played all that much of it yet, and technically only played it in 2025, so I'll save it for another time. I wouldn't mind picking up Mario vs Donkey Kong either, but that's not on the center of my radar currently. But one last game I did pick up in late 2024 that didn't come out in 2024, but it is relevant. It Takes Two. I started playing it with my wife, and we're having a blast. Once again, still playing through it, but all these games as of late have left me feeling more optimistic. In 2022 and 3, my gaming was a lot smaller. I didn't play as much, I didn't 100% as much, and I left each game feeling ticked another off the list. I was slightly worried that every other aspect of my life was sucking the desire to game more out of me, but after this lineup, I'm feeling better. I'm looking forward to the endings of Echoes of Wisdom, Brothership, and It Takes Two. And even if time to play games is still a thing to worry about, I'm still actively excited to keep playing them. I've been Hat Wearing Gamer, and now if you'll excuse me, I want to play Brothership more.